Hello and welcome to Hands on Tech. Today I'd like to take a look at the PS5 disc versus digital. So I've finally made my decision, and today I'd like to discuss why I've chosen the system that I'm going to be going for. I did do a video on this topic just after the announcement, so check that out above. But during that announcement I was a little bit confused as to which system I was ultimately going to choose. I'm sure you were the same, and following that video I've been thinking about it for a few weeks. And my decision has been difficult. I've decided I'm actually going to go for the disc over the digital. On previous videos, I have noticed in the comment section that there's been a spirited debate about this topic. There's a lot of people on different sides of the fence, and both have very valid reasons, hence the reason why I've taken a number of weeks to make my decision. Obviously, we've not even got a price yet, and it's not going to be released for a while, so we don't need to make that decision just yet. But ultimately, having thought about it for a few weeks, reading the comments, reading people's opinions, looking at what offerings PS5 disc versus PS5 digital will have, I've come to the decision that disc is a better choice for me right now, and I'd like to explain why. So here we go. So, what are the negatives of each system? Now with the disc system, when I initially saw the announcement, I was pretty shocked by the design. I think we all were. It's not a very good looking design, so that's one of the primary reasons why ultimately I was doubtful as to whether I was going to go for a disc or a digital. Now digital obviously is a more balanced design. I've discussed that in previous videos, so check them out. The main question we all have to ask ourselves, are the looks really that important when it comes to a console like this? Is the added functionality of having a disc drive more beneficial than the loss of looks in the system? You know, that's the question I've really been asking myself for the last few weeks. And in my opinion, no. PlayStation for me is a tool. It's a tool to have a nice time, have a relaxing escape. But it's not a system that I will look at and think, wow, that's a really good piece of art and I'm very, very happy to have it in my house. I don't think like that, and I don't actually truly believe most people do think like that. So take a look at the Xbox Series X versus the PlayStation 5. Yeah, the PlayStation 5 has taken risks creatively to make a system that looks good to a degree. Compare it to the Xbox Series X and you'll see the difference. I mean, the Xbox Series X is a box. It's not creatively interesting. It's purely a tool, and they've seen it that way, and that shows the difference in philosophy between the PlayStation and Xbox. So one of the main questions I asked was, how is it possible for PlayStation to design an ugly system like the disc version? They've had endless resources, endless consumer feedback, and they've designed a system that is not good looking. And the question for me is why? So having thought about it over the last few weeks, the answer for me has become very clear. And that's because they want to push us away from disc and towards digital. And that's one of the primary reasons why I have chosen disc. Because it is not the right decision for me at the moment. And I don't believe that media is in the position it needs to be fully viable for that type of digital system. So I want to stick with Blu-rays. I want to stick with my DVD collection. I don't want to throw all of those discs out for no reason whatsoever and get myself in deeper with the PlayStation ecosystem. So if anyone's sitting out there and thinking, well, PlayStation wouldn't do that, they've just, come up with a bad design and it is obviously a bit wide of the mark and it's just not what they expected it to be and the responses haven't been good. That's not true from my perspective. I believe that they've intentionally designed a system which looks clumsy to push us to digital. Now, despite the design issues with the disc version, there is obviously going to be a price difference between the two systems. It's anticipated that the disc version will be about $100, £100 more than the digital version, which obviously brings in that element. But in my opinion, you could offset that price difference with the amount of discs that you're going to throw away. I mean, Blu-ray discs are expensive because of their quality, and as far as I'm concerned, Blu-ray is still the best quality that you can get on a system like this. The Ultra HD versions that you'll get on a digital download, in my opinion, are just not as good as the Blu-rays. So you've got to factor that in. Is it worth really getting rid of all my discs at that cost? Is it worth it? Because that will ultimately make up the difference between the two system costs of $100, £100. If it's $15 or £15 for a Blu-ray, it doesn't take very long for that to be out. It's like 6-7 Blu-rays, and I've got a lot more than that. So it makes sense for me to keep the system, which is best for the circumstances that I'm in. And for me, that's disc. Ultimately, the disc version is a great option for me, but digital might be better for you. So it's up to you to make the decision, and I hope I've given you enough information from my perspective to make a better decision for yourself and your own circumstances. Now, The digital version obviously is going to be cheaper and it is better looking, so that is a great option for people who just don't care enough about discs and Blu-ray and maybe don't even have a collection themselves. In that circumstance, then digital is a great option. And it's really going to be forging ahead into the future because I foresee digital is going to become commonplace. My anticipation is that Xbox is going to release a digital version sooner rather than later. They're going to probably see how PlayStation go and then ultimately release their own digital version. So I foresee that happening. So you're making a good step into the future, but for me, you know, I'm maybe not as brave as you, and I want to stick with disc. It's just the best option for me. So that's it for today. Everything has been discussed. The decision has been made. It's going to be disc for me. So I hope I've been helpful and I've given you some information about my perspective, and I look forward to seeing you next time. This has been Tom for Hands on Tech. Thanks and see you next time.